Right, can you just tell me your names and where you live at the moment?
My name's Anna Bond, and I originally lived, before I moved to Chelmsford Wood, in Sutton Coldfield.
My name's Jeffrey Bond, and what did you say?
Where I lived, where you lived.
7.
No, where you lived before you came to Chelmsford Wood. Where you lived before you came here.
Just going to you.
Oh right, sorry.
I came from Erdington, Shortheath.
Lovely.
And I'll carry on.
That's fine. That's brilliant. Thank you. Can you just tell me a little bit about how you met?
Yes. You remember
for me, it was love at first sight. Now, we used to go to, we were two people, separate people. I saw her dancing, asked her to go for a dance, and it went from there.
Yeah. This was
Mainly Hall.
Yes, St Peter's Church. Yes, they used to have
Church.
a Saturday night hop, and we used to. We had some friends, and we went to a party once, and every one of these friends had all met at this St Peter's Church Hall in Mayney, which has now been demolished. But so because Jeff was very good at ballroom dancing. He'd done he got as far as a silver medal, hadn't you, in ballroom dancing? He taught me how to dance. So that was the thing. It was ballroom dancing. It was ballroom dancing then, wasn't it? Yeah. And we were both keen on outdoor life. Jeff introduced me to camping, and we've camped for many, many years. And we were both keen on walking and the outdoors, weren't we?
We walked many of the mountains in Wales.
Yes, did quite a lot of mountain walking. And also we were involved with the Youth Hostel Association. You say what we did with the Youth Hostels.
Well, with the Youth Hostels Association, we ran a committee that ran the hostels, the ones that were did not have many bed nights. And
the simple hostels.
The simple hostels. That's what it was. And we used to go in working parties and
doing jobs.
Doing jobs for us and opening up youth hostels.
Yeah. So we did that for some time before we were married. And then we were also interested in drama as well. I introduced you to a drama group. I was a member, and then Jeff came along. So we did some drama as well. Then
there's one thing we're proud of. We delivered in a play on Chelmsford Wood, and it was what was it? The name of the name of this. Help me out.
Pinter. The Pinter play you were talking about.
Oh yes.
Harold Pinter. We did the Harold Pinter play.
This is funny actually. We had this little competition with
Marston
Green. And we did a printer from one of the Pinter's plays. What was your name? It was
Landscape, I think.
Landscape by Pinter. Yeah. And we went through this competition then, and we did have it, when the others were in it. And after that, when they ceased, people at Marston Green said, one person anyone particularly said, when they said what it was like, and she said, "Oh, I don't think that's suitable for Marston Green." because there was a
There's a bit of swearing in it.
with Pinter, it's
Yeah, but but getting back to sort of Chelmsley Wood, we because we did a lot. We had a very long courtship. Didn't get married, but then all our activities came to a change when Jeff joined the self-build group to build the house, and that was in you
67.
Yeah, 67 they started, but you'd had some meetings. They used to meet, and then when the land was allocated, they moved on in November 1967. And the hut that they built for their self-build group was the first building on Area 5, because all that was in was the roads were in, just the curbs but not the full road surface. It was a bit like it was out here, all gravelly, unfinished.
Well, but there was nothing.
There was nothing,
to see.
Nothing.
It was just open fields.
Yeah. And so they started in the November in 1967, and by the time they finished in the September 1969, the whole of Area 5 had been built round us. With that, they'd gone up that quick. Yeah. But for a time they were the first ones there working there. And they'd built the 14 houses in just about 21 months. So tell how quickly the rest of it went up. Because the first house, the chap moved in the first house, there was no electricity on, and all round it were empty properties. They'd been built but they hadn't been finished, and he said he used to switch off the generator at night and it was dead silence and pitch black because there was no lights on or anything, so and by the time we were one of the last, because we hadn't got married, and we were waiting to more or less we got married in the July and the houses were finished in the September. We went in for the later houses, so by the time we moved in everything was all pretty well finished. It was amazing, wasn't it, how quickly it was done. But so. But
and they're all still standing.
And I've talked to other people who've done self-builds, but you were obviously working while you're building your house as well.
Oh yes, yeah. They did. Yes. You used to work 3 nights a week, and Saturday and Sunday. I think you had every other Saturday morning off, didn't you?
Yeah.
But they worked, and they had Christmas Day and.
We didn't have a Christmas Day holiday.
The first year, did you?
The first year, we had what was it now? Oh dear, what was it, Walter? You on a Saturday, you had alternately. You worked and in the morning on whatever it's got to be done, right? But you when you go in the morning, and then you went home. But all the other chaps had to keep on working.
Yeah.
Till the light was so bad we couldn't do any more for that. And in that next week, the ones who were had a holiday.
They swapped over.
They swapped over.
Yeah, and they had to all that the summer holidays was spent, wasn't it, as well?
We had one. The first year, we had Christmas Day off, and the second we had Christmas Day and Boxing Day, and no other holidays.
As Jeff said, he wasn't too bad for him because he worked in an office, but some of the others who got physical jobs, it must have been very hard for them. And some of them were married with families, weren't they? Some of them were married with families. It wasn't so bad for us.
Well, the thing was, people say, "Well, what's it doing? How's it going?" And we used to say that. What was it now? I said, this is why I can't do this sort of thing. I've lost myself.
Never mind, doesn't matter. It'll come back to you. But
You'll remember a bit later.
yeah, so that was, that was hard work. But once it was done, and we finished and we moved in. That was okay, wasn't it?
Yes.
We moved in, and then about a fortnight later, the last one moved in, and then it all finished. So that was it.
So, what were your first impressions of Chelmsford Wood? I mean, obviously you'd seen it being built for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
So,
Well, when you came onto the site, there was nothing to see at all, and then the real work started, and we were what's road there?
Greenlands Road.
Greenlands Road goes down, doesn't it? Into
Pine Square.
Pine Square, right. Pine Square had, as far as my first saw it, 3 bulldozers
Stuck in it.
And they had to get 3 to get them. It wasn't for us, it was the building going round us, and they had to get these trucks at the drots out of the way. And
they took loads and loads of hardcore on to build it up, to build the island. But then when we moved in, there was no shopping centre. We used to have to go off, didn't we, to shop, because that was built later. So there was no shops apart from the little local shops. They were in fairly reasonably. We weren't members of St Andrew's Church when we moved in, but we do remember that Trevor Hextall, who was the first rector, he had a caravan down at the town, by where the town centre is now, with a caravan with a red cross on, didn't he? He used to come round. And the doctors, Dr Allen and Dr Pomeroy, were here right from the beginning, and they used to have a house just round the corner from our South Bell group on Greenlands Road. It was 109 Greenlands Road, wasn't it? And that was the surgery, so they were quite close. So that was before the medical centre was built. And then when the town centre was first built, I don't know how long it was. It's funny, isn't it, how you forget how the first centre. But originally, where the post office was, there was no building where the old Fine Fair was now. It finished there, and there was just some steps down to a big open car park there before they built Fine Fair, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we remember I was there the day the Queen came to open the town centre.
Did you meet her?
Yeah, so that was a bit of a what's it, wasn't it? And so that was that, and that's gone. I mean, everything that was we remember that from there has sort of gone. The clock, because she opened a plaque on that. There was a clock in the town. That's been demolished. Yeah. When we think about it, the library's gone. Whitesmoor's gone. When we first moved, then when we moved on to Chelmsford Wood, I think we started looking round for something to do. And we decided to set up a drama group, didn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, we advertised. We did it through Whitesmoor School, and our first production we did was at Whitesmoor School. And then we met a friend who was a member of a drama group in Castle Bromwich, and she wasn't.
She's brilliant.
She was very good, and she wanted to join with us. So we moved from the school, because we found it was very restricting at the school, into the old the library, and we did 1 or 2 productions there. But then what happened was really our family started coming along, and you can't do drama when you've got family, so we sort of gave it up.
It's a drama on its own.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah. So she carried on, and she went into teaching eventually and did drama, and we still see some of her productions now. She's still carried on with it. But so that was the drama thing, and then our children came along, and
we were proud to say that we brought some culture to them.
To Chelsea would, yeah. And then the children came along and they went to Bishop Wilson School, and Jeff got involved with the drama there. He used to do it because they used to do an annual pantomime at Bishop Wilson School. They also used to do a bonfire, didn't they?
Yes.
Every year on November. It was always November the 5th. It didn't matter what day of the week it was always on the field there, and Jeff used to go and help with that. Yeah. I say you couldn't do it now, could you?
No,
with
no.
all these health and safety,
I mean,
letting off these fireworks and have a great big fire and everything, you know.
People running around.
So that was, and we both got involved with the PTA there, didn't we? For men to help with the fundraising, the Christmas fair, and they used to have a summer fair as well. And I used to go and helping with cooking and that with the children and things like that. And so that was, and then we also, as I say, started at St Andrew's Church, and we weren't members. I think we kept links with my church, sort of until the children came along, and then when Vicky was going to school, that's our eldest daughter, that was when we got the links with Bishop Wilson School, and we said, well, if we're going to the school, you know, the church school, then we really ought to be involved with the church. So that was when we sort of started going to church.
Yeah.
So we really started as church in about, we'd been there, well, 1976, I think, 77, I think we joined the church. So, and that was where we got involved with the social life of the church as well. So, and we hadn't been members 5 minutes, and Jeff was asked to be church warden.
Yes.
You're church warden.
Yes.
Yes.
I was
And it was Richard Ballard then was the rector that we knew. And so we knew sort of, and it, there were a lot, as I say, the sort of ministers in those days had much younger families, so sort of the families all grew up together, didn't they?
And we used to take church camps.
Yes, we had church camps.
They were brilliant. They were.
Yeah, yes, we had church camps, 1 or 2 church camps, about 3
They
or
liked
4 or 5 years, wasn't it?
They liked the liquor, some of them.
Yes, and yeah. So that was it, and as I say, with the church building in Pike Drive. So, and of course, the link with the church and the school was quite, because we were involved with both, so we sort of got to know quite a lot of people through the church and through the school. But as I say, the early days, I think the overriding impression in the early days was all these new buildings, and of course the trees. There were a few of the mature trees, but mainly it always looked very bleak, didn't it? In the
except
first
for
days.
Area 5, because the council, the town council, paid for a load of trees.
Yes, but they didn't grow up at first, did they? They were quite small. You look at the early photographs of Chelmsford Wood, it does look a bit bare.
Yeah.
You know, now, when you realise how much the trees have grown up and how much. And of course, the park wasn't laid out right from the beginning, was it?
No.
So.
Do you remember much about the park area?
I can't really. It's awful to say that, but I can't really remember much about it. Can you? I suppose because until our children came on the scene, we perhaps, we didn't go down to the park very much. And of course, by the time they were born, then I suppose the park had been done. So I can't remember much. All I can remember is that there were boats on the park, weren't there?
Yes.
And at one time you could hire little rowing boats out. And at one time there was, and then Derek Carew, one of our ministers, was very involved with the railway that they ran there. Apparently, some old chap did it in the early years, and then he died, I think, and his wife, and that they found the engine or something, or somebody presented the engine, and they tried to get it going again, but they couldn't get it going again. It was a shame, really. I think they just didn't realise the engineering involved with it. And then Derek moved away, and I don't think it ever got going after that, did it? Because they took the track up. I can't remember any of the other early things that was. They did the skateboard, didn't they? The skateboard track down the hill, at the back by the river. But by the time they'd built that, it was out of fashion. But at least they've got the one in the park now, haven't they? They've got the skateboard track in the park. But that was the early days for skateboards, wasn't it, when they first came out?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the difference is you could let the children into the park,
Play in the street.
play in the street.
Our children played in the
But
street.
not now.
No, it's not. Well, certainly not the number of cars. You know, there was one or two cars. You know, sort of not every house. You know, there weren't cars all parked up the streets then, so that was much more informal. Yeah, and there wasn't much of a playground, was there, in the park? That's come recently, hasn't it? The playgrounds. There was not much in the way of play areas for the children
That's
parks.
at the beginning. There wasn't much.
No,
no.
no.
But,
But there was a lot of organisations set up in the early days. I think based at St Andrew's Church was a printers, and they printed a directory for Chelmsley Wood, and I meant to bring it along, and I've still got a copy of it, and it's got all the scouts and guides and all the organisations that were set up, and you know, quite amazing how many organisations set up. There was a Fellowship of the Handicapped set up, and you know, sort of various things, and of course there was the tenants' halls on every area. You know, those have all disappeared. I think the Seventh-day Adventist churches, that was originally a tenants' hall, and there was one on just across the road from us in Alder Drive. There was one there. There was one for every area, wasn't there? A tenants' hall.
yes.
Small, tall hall, and the playgroups and things were done there. Yeah, so there was lots of things, I think, at the beginning. And when you went down to the town centre in the early days when it first opened, you couldn't move for prams. There was prams everywhere, parked all up outside the shops.
Yes.
Yeah, because everybody moved up here, I think, and of course the schools were bursting at the seams, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, when our children were at Bishop Wilson, they had about 4 or 5 temporary classrooms there, didn't they?
Yeah.
You know, because the schools were all bursting at the seams, you know, with all these children. And I think that, you know, now when we think of our road, you know, there's very few children in our road, whereas when we were, you know, bringing up our families, there was sort of a family in every house sort of thing. Now there's, you know, not so many. You know, we've all grown up, but even then people who've moved in, you know, sort of, there are not so many with children, is there? So it's changed a lot, I think. Changed a lot. Yeah.
Do you know, can you tell us much about the senior schools when your children moved on to senior school?
Our children went to Coleshill School, so they weren't involved. Simon Digby was still open. It was sad, really. Simon Digby had such a bad reputation that so many people pulled out of it, and I think it lost its reputation, and unfortunately it got better, but it was too, you know, just you know, people wouldn't go, and it faded away. And I think as well it came through in a time where the secondary schools perhaps were dropping, you know. There weren't so many people having their families were smaller, or they, you know, that burst that when they first came in had gone through the primary schools and into the secondary schools.
Bishop Wilson used to have, well, still does, I think. You know, in the summer, they used to, what is it, not gymnastics. Sports day.
Oh yes, well, all the schools had sports days, didn't they? Yeah, I don't know whether they still do. I don't know.
Yeah,
they did then.
Yeah.
But so we didn't really have any much experience of the secondary schools here, did we? Because as I say, I went to Coleshill.
Okay. Could you talk a little bit about getting to know your neighbours and how things have gone on while you've been here?
Neighbours, yeah. Yes, well, of course, we were all had families together, and of course, although funny enough, although we were all the self-build group, some of them moved out quite soon, didn't they? Yeah. And then next door to when the people the couple who were in the self-build group moved from next door to us, the people who moved into us were the people who had the fish and chip shop, the Greek Cypriots who had the fish and chip shop in Alder Drive. So we got to know their family quite well, didn't we? Because the children their children and grandchildren, because they got grown-up children and the grandchildren, and some of the grandchildren, the one daughter-in-law lived with them with the grandchildren, and so we got to know them quite well. In fact, they invited us to their granddaughter's christening, didn't they, at the Greek Orthodox Cathedral in town.
The thing was in the town. Dudley Road, wasn't it?
Pardon?
Dudley Road.
Yeah, well, yes, just up there, yes. It was just on the corner. The start of Dudley Road, yeah. Spring Hill around there, yeah.
But it was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Listen, there must have been 200 people there.
Yeah. Well, it was like an ordinary service, and then they tacked on the baptisms
but
at the end.
It was the way it was conducted.
Yeah.
It was pandemonium, wasn't it? I mean, you ate the bread, and then but later on, the wine. Did we have wine?
I don't think we didn't. No, we wouldn't. We couldn't. We were waiting at the side, waiting for the service to finish, so we could have the baptism service. We didn't take part in the service. No.
Oh dear.
But no, so we knew them, and then the only person in our block now is the people next door to us. So we knew that their children were the same age as our children. I think probably because our children didn't go to the local primary school and didn't go to, because they went to Bishop Wilson rather than Coleshill Heath, which is most of that. I think the sort of closeness wasn't really there, was it?
No,
our children had friends with and they also had tended to have their friends through the church rather than.
Well, Vicky went.
Yes, Vicky had friends
Vicky
locally. Vicky had friends locally more than the boys, and because they went to, the church, and quite a lot of the church children went to Bishop Wilson School. They had tended to have their friends more through there, but so the self-built group sort of was. I think once the houses had done, although we weren't really all that close. I don't think were we after the houses were built.
Why do you think people moved out quite quickly?
I don't know. Some of them.
I think some of them
wanted to make money on the houses, because they probably did make money on the houses, because obviously.
Well, they didn't. They earned the money.
Yeah.
They earned it.
Yes, but I think, and some of them for family reasons moved out, didn't they?
Yeah.
They. So I think Derek next door, the chap who was next door, he'd got another job, didn't he, up north somewhere?
Yeah.
He moved up north. So I don't know, but there's, as I say, out of the 14 houses now, I think there's only about 1, 2, 3. There's only about 4, isn't there, people left from the 14?
We're not sure that Jim. We don't know.
Oh well, no, yeah. Well, yeah. But because the first lot of houses were built were in Piccadilly Close, and then there was ours in Harbour Way. So we didn't see much of the people in Piccadilly Close, didn't we, really?
No.
So no, we never had to get together or anything, really. It's strange, isn't it?
We had a very strict regime in the self-build, because it can be, you get things pop up. So the rules were no women on the site when we're working. They cannot come on. It was so strict about it.
Yeah.
And
there was all sorts of things, wasn't there? They're quite strict. But then, I think it kept the discipline, kept them going, because it was it was such hard work. I suppose they had to have the rules. Yeah.
Was that rules just for your self-build?
Yes,
just for
each group.
And what was the name of your self-build?
Forrester self-build.
Foresters.
Yeah. And but no, as I say, I think probably they'd sort of just worked together, and once the houses were done, I think they wanted to sort of go on with their own lives. And
it were eclectic, lots of people.
Yes, there was quite a mixed lot, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, some
We see
bands.
them and talk, you know, one or two of them, but
We never had any real vast trauma.
no.
You know, but we have the rules stopped it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because people say, oh, he's pulling his weight,
Yeah.
and there'd be a row.
Yeah. They were fined if they were late. You
Yeah.
were fined if you were late.
Well, fine for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go back, right? It's a long time. If you were late, you were fined £5. It was a lot of money. £5. And no excuses for anybody.
Very strict.
Okay.
Yeah.
Strict, very, very strict.
Yeah, and they had a disciplinary committee, but the disciplinary committee changed every month so that they all had to go on it, so there could be no sort of favouritism or anything.
Yeah.
So it was very democratic, I think, wasn't it?
Yes,
yeah, very
it was.
strict but very democratic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So democratic. On the last day, when we finished building the houses, and it was all over, we all sat down in the kitchen of the last house, right, and ate our sandwiches.
Yeah, they weren't allowed to go home for lunch, even when they'd moved in. They all had to have the lunch together.
And there were our cans, with the tins and that, and drinking and out of the bottle and all that.
Yeah,
And it was really lovely, really.
yeah.
Mm.
So, but I think probably it's funny, isn't it, that, as I say, when we look back, I said to Jeff, when it came up to 25 years, I said, oh, it's 25 years, because of course it was the same year as our wedding anniversary. I said, oh, we've nobody, but I think probably because we'd lost so many of them, there wasn't. It was probably so many moved away, and we never kept in touch, did we? We never followed it up. But, yeah.
So, how do you feel about Chelmsford Wood now? And
I have no complaints about them. We have wonderful transports. You can't,
Yes, and the facilities are
complain
there.
about it.
No.
You really can't.
No, there's everything you want, really, isn't there?
Yeah.
Sort of shopping wise, and
Mm.
the schools seem to be doing well, don't they? The schools are, sort of. No
The
problem.
worst, I'm not saying it was a policy, because it wasn't, but it's really, people say, oh, Chelmsley Wood. And we've looked in the newspaper when things have been on. Chelmsley Wood Bandits, Chelmsley Wood Bandits. And when you looked at the address, it isn't Chelmsley Wood.
No, I think the biggest thing, the really thing that really I hate about Chelmsley Wood is the litter. I think that that's the biggest problem.
thing.
I think
It's
Chelmsley
the
Wood
main
faces the litter, because it is awful, isn't it? It is. But apart from that, everybody's always very friendly.
Friendly?
Yeah, yes, we
Yeah.
know people and talk to people, and people are always helpful. Sort of, aren't they? Yeah. When Jeff, we were out in last year when the weather was.
One instance, I'll tell you. I think I've said it to you before. One morning I was going to go to work with the old Morris Minor. It's when we were to start it. I was out trying to start my car, and it was a cold morning. It was going, oh, go on. And I wanted really for me to put the pedal on the so it wouldn't
Put
fly.
the clutch going.
Put
the clutch in, you mean?
No.
The accelerator.
Yeah, the accelerator.
Yeah.
Just to touch it a bit when it fired up. You don't drive, don't you? So, about 5 or 6 people went in. All men, all white. Round the corner comes a black man. Right, he said, "Do you want me to put my foot on the accelerator for you?" I said, "Oh yes, please, thank you." Anyway, I did it to him, so I was that. He said, I'll wind it." He said, "You get in it." He got in. Started first time. Right, lovely.
Yeah.
And he never said he wanted anything, or he never said anything. He just said, "There you are, mate." And it went, and he went. He was black. All the other white ones left me.
Yeah,
And that's why I like black people.
Yeah. So I think it's been a, sort of, yes, I think friendly people are friendly. I mean, last winter we were walking along and Jeff got his stick on and it was all that icy program and he was stumbled and a young couple went by. I said, "Oh, you all right?" And went to help, didn't they? People always offer to help, don't they? When especially with Jeff now, when he's obviously is a bit handicapped and has to use a stick. So people are always very helpful. So I always say that, sort of in Chelmsford, I've never had any problems. I've never felt threatened or anything. Some people say, my mum used to be worried to death about me going out up to the church at night. I said, "Mum, I never feel frightened. I never feel.
All he did,
never worried."
I always said that. I always used to say to you, didn't I? Don't come back by going down the little alleyways. So you can come down on, even if you go for a longer walk, come down on a big road.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's right.
There's plenty of people about,
yeah.
And it's light.
Yeah.
It's the light.
Yeah. So never felt worried.
No.
Never bothered about felt insecure or anything, have we?
No.
We went through a spate of having the car broken into. That went on for a bit. That wasn't too bad, was it?
No.
Yeah. These things happen, don't they? Can happen anywhere, can't it? So you don't think about it. So no, we've never wanted, because it was interesting. Jeff was saying that some of the self-build groups said, they had a toss up and they thought Jeff would be we'd be the first couple to move out, and here we are 44 years later.
Other than the secretary, I was the only one.
He was an office worker.
I was an office worker.
Yeah, they're nearly all factories all built. Some of them were in the building trade, weren't they? Which helped, I think, with our group. Because the only thing they subcontracted on our group was the roofs, wasn't it?
Yeah,
the tiling the
roofs.
roofs. They did everything else themselves.
They did a monopoly on
electrics, plumbing, and the lot. And of course, Jeff always said, because he'd done those working parties with the Youth Hostels Association, he picked up sort of jobs with plumbing and things like that. And he was electrical engineer, so he could, so he knew that anyway. So that was it, yeah.
Was it in?
Is there anything else you want to ask?
Well,
I think probably the only other thing to say is think about how's it going,
Yeah.
how's it going to go.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see.
the buildings they're putting up now will not last more than 50 years.
Well, the ones that they put up when we moved in haven't lasted, have they? Because the school's gone and the library's gone, and they don't build buildings to last now, do they? The thing that I find worries me about the future of this area is that we've got these nice little redevelopments sort of, but some of the older bits are looking very tatty, and what are they going to do about those? They seem to be, it isn't an overall plan, is it? It's sort of little bits here and there, and it's going to look a bit odd, I think, unless they eventually move on to, because nothing done on our area at all. I mean, when you look at those shops at Older Drive, they're so scruffy up there. You know, they're terrible, aren't they? But there doesn't seem to be any plans for up there at all. So that's the only thing that worries me, you know, that they've, you know, it's been a bit selective. You know, where they have done it, they've done it nicely, but the other areas seem to be as though they're going to be left. So I don't know quite what's happening about that.
Well, that's what I keep saying. They're going to build slums.
Well, no, I mean, I think the new developments look better. They've put a lot of thought into design and that, haven't they? The new houses and that.
But we haven't got it, have we?
No.
So that's the areas that they will.
I mean, our area 5, is so built up. There's no green space at all there, and they're even going to build on the old school. You know, the Coleshill Heath School. So there's going to be nothing in our area at all, is there?
No.
It's quite densely populated, and all those walkways and that. Whether they, I mean, eventually, somebody said that they've got to get rid of them because they're not something to do with health and safety. The fact that but there's so many walkways on our area, I don't know how they're going to get rid of them all. Have to see. So that's the only thing that worries us, you know, about this. The development seems very selective. You know, they seem as though they prefer the big open sites like the schools, you know, Bishop Wilson School site and Coleshill Heath School site, and how it's going to work out with moving Coleshill Heath to the old Alcott Hall School, because that's quite a enclosed site again, isn't it? There's no real road up to it, so whether that's going to cause problems, and all the families that have got to cross Greenlands Road, which isn't a very easy road to cross, because we know that, don't we? Because there's so many roads going off it, and the fact that it's on a slope as well, that you can't always see, you know, the traffic coming, and a major bus route, you know, and all the cars that parked along there. So I think that's going to be a bit of a worry how that's going to work out. Because of course there used to be a subway. They got rid of all the subways. There used to be one by the shops there, didn't they? And that's gone. So. And there's nowhere.
Talking about anything I dislike about it, we've got too many gambling things going in.
Oh, you mean, yeah.
And money lenders.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
a
it's
sign
the
of the
Tories,
times, isn't it? How do you, as a last question, how do you feel about the new Bishop Wilson and St Andrew's site? Because obviously you're worshipping there. So.
I
like it. I do.
Yeah.
I think it's
it's
much.
It's a bit difficult to get itself organised.
Yes, yeah. I think that I mean we miss the room. We do miss the rooms, obviously. But as regards the worship, it's much better. It's much brighter and lighter, and you know, it was getting very. It was too big. The old building was much too big and very.
But every time
dull.
We had something in the first church, you know. If it's something musical, they always come out and say, "God, the acoustics in there are wonderful."
Yes, that's it. Yeah. Yes, we missed that.
Everybody used to say, you know.
Yes, it was brilliant for concerts and things like that, and the fact that everybody could see that was good. It was good for that. But this is much more flexible, much more. We're much more closer together. We're closer together in the sense that we're, you know, it's a bit small sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rather than, you know, if we don't take the folding screen down. And we've had a few teething problems, but you know, that's always the case with the new building, isn't it? Mostly been the heating. Been a bit cold some Sundays, hasn't it? But they seem to be sorting that out. But no, I think
they've sorted it.
And it'll be so much better. I mean, at the moment it's a bit of a bind for us because, you know, walking all through all that work and that, because Jeff's not very steady on his feet.
No.
So But I think when it's finished, because it'll be much more open out here, won't it?
It's,
And there's going to be a car park there, I think,
Yeah.
isn't there? Yeah. Yes.
and I have to keep going
Yeah.
because if I go off my feet, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean,
So